To be like a quiet life because that is all we're used to. And this makes me want to cry. It just goes back to my roots. I loved my grandmother and granddaddy, and I loved my mother and daddy. And this is where they were. To leave those roots would just kill me. I like when a car goes down the road here, I go, well, that's Lester, he's off to do his racing. Oh, there's so-and-so, and I know who it is. And I know probably what they're gonna go do even. And the same thing, and we watch out for one another. I don't think you get that in the city. My name is Mary Frances Kahn, and I was born in Smith Mills, Kentucky on January the 9th, 1956. And my parents, Magna Raymond Clark and Lillian Travis Clark, everybody called them Sarah and Abraham because they were so old. They were 36 years old, but everybody thought that was old back then. I've been living here in Corydon for about 68 years. I was born in Smith Mills. And then in 1964, my daddy built a house here next to his parents, and we moved here when I was getting ready to start the 3rd grade. And really, I have lived on this farm my entire life. Now I live in the same house I was raised in, and when Kent and I first got married, this is the house we lived in.
My name's Wendell Kent Kahn. I was born in Mayfield, Kentucky, December 9th, 1959. I've been interested in knives and making knives for over 20 years. When I first started out, I would have the guys that I worked with, they wanted a knife that I would make. And I made it out of just different scrap or whatever, an old saw blade or whatever. And I told them, I said, if you bring me an antler in, I'll make a knife. And the antler, one half of the antler will be the knife handle, and I get to keep the other half. So as my interest grew with that, I found out different ways. I've made my own forges, made all my tools that I have. I made a forge, a hydraulic press, and a treadle hammer, and a belt sander, 2x72 belt sander. And I just like, one of the things that I remember about my neighbor Skeeter, he was always impressed with the things that I made. And he would always say, well, you can take nothing and make something out of it. So the knives that I make are out of steel cable that I get at work, or old bearing races, or old Farragher's rasp that I get from different people that donate it, or I'll buy it. And it's just junkyard steel, but the steel's still good material that can make a good quality knife. And I'd like to eventually maybe get into making some pocket knives as well, but that's a whole different skill set.
Soon after Mama died, I became, the farm owner, and I was a first-time female farm owner. So only 3 people in Henderson County got a grant that year, and me being first-time female farmer put me at the top of the list. We put in risers, cattle panels, tile work, things to make the farm, improve the farm with drainage and erosion. And they worked on it one fall, then they had to stop for a while. They came back in the spring and finished up. And that winter, in between there, I went around and bush hogged around every riser, about 35 of them, and cleared it all off, so when they came back in the spring, they'd be ready to work. But it helped us to improve the farm because of it, because we would not be able to afford that on our own. And it may be a long time before I'd ever even be eligible to get another grant, but only 3 people got it that year, and I was one of them. I'm very thankful.
One of the other stipulations that helped us in getting the grant was that wildflowers and native habitat. So we did about 1.5 acres of that out by the lake.
I have all kinds of flowers that start blooming from very early spring to late fall, and I'm always cutting flowers and bringing them in the house or giving them to people. I have lots of flowers, some that come up every year and some I have to plant every year, so I love that. One of the things that have changed the most in farm life definitely is technology. When I was little, we had these two phones that went out to the slaughterhouse, and you would turn a crank, right? I think so, you turn a crank, and it would ring, and you would hear that. So we'd communicate. That's how we would communicate with that. And it was just a slower life. Everybody, even if you're 100 today, I think people live a fast life. So I've stayed on this farm forever, and Andrea, my niece, said that we'd been here over 200 years, so I tell people I've been here for over 200 years. I look pretty good for being that old, but this is where I've lived, and I don't plan to ever leave.